Welcome to the Digital Marketing and Website Podcast by Merkados. We are your hosts, Alex and Ann Centeno.
Even though things on the web keep changing and evolving, over the years, we've been able to learn and implement successful evergreen strategies that we're going to share with you in this podcast.
For the last 20 years, we have been using digital marketing to help businesses succeed. Together, we'll learn how to attract more qualified customers using the web. If you're ready, we're ready. Let's get started. Alrighty, here we are with episode number 2. It's a great accomplishment. We'll remember this time when we're 85 years old, and we have by then we probably would have like 3,000 episodes, like Joe Rogan or something like that.
Oh boy!
Or we'll get canceled before that happens.
Oh boy!
All righty. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Alex Centeno here with Ann Centeno, and we are Merkados, and we help business owners attract more qualified clients and do so without the need of hiring additional marketing staff. Today, we're going to be talking about 5 digital tips to grow your business. And what we thought is like, as a business owner, you have so many things that you need to do. You have to deal with the office and employment, and you have to deal with getting things ready. If you're a plastic surgeon, for example, you would have to do the operations themselves. If you are a real estate agent, you have to do the showings and so on and so forth. And so you have kind of these 2 hats that you're wearing, the one that is the hat of the business owner and the one that is the actual person that executes in the business, for example, real estate or plastic surgery. And so we wanted to talk about 5 digital tips to grow your business so that you don't have to worry so much about the marketing side of things. But of course, you have to still worry about the implementation in your business. So does that sound like a good plan?
I'm on it.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's start with number 1. Create a professional website. Do you think, first of all, I would like to ask you, what do you think of the importance of having a professional website?
I think these days it has to be standard. I mean, standard practice. It's such a representation of your business, of how serious you kind of take your business. It's where people go. If you have a business and you don't have a website, people don't feel like you're legitimate. I hope that doesn't step on toes, but that's just the truth. If a person goes to a website and they're trying to find out more about you, especially if it's something, I would say, medical, health related, and they just see something that's not very professional. There's misspellings. They can't find the information they need. It looks outdated. The last post was 2003. They're going to think like, okay, are they keeping up to date on best practice for medicine? Or, are they really taking this serious? So I think these days, first of all, you need a website. Second of all, if you have a bad website or an unprofessional website, it can actually do you a lot of harm. So in my opinion, it's standard practice for any business now. You need a professional website that is, if you think about it in kind of older marketing, it's your billboard. It really is. And it needs to be done well and right.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I think having a bad website is way worse than having no website. So if you have, it is important to have a website. I agree with you.
Sure.
Very important, especially in 2022. We because of the pandemic and everything that is happening as a society, everybody is using the web way more than they used to. And traditional channels of marketing are working less effectively. So digital marketing is incredibly important. So I agree with you. Everybody needs a website, but that and having a bad website, you don't want that to be the case. Even if you have like one page on your website,
Agreed.
so you can start with one single page and it actually is a good page, then that's much better than having like a bad website, something that is not well designed, etc., doesn't work properly. But one thing that I see a lot is that sometimes businesses design a good website to start with, and then over time, a lot of hands get in there, and like the business owner does something, and then like a marketing agency does something else, and then they hire a webmaster that doesn't know, what
It's
the
like a
other one's looking.
menagerie of
Exactly. So everybody's doing different things,
right.
and what we call that in the website design world is it ends up like a Frankenstein. It's like this weird thing, and it actually ends up hurting the brand, right? Because like it doesn't look good, and people
Nothing's
can notice.
consistent.
Yeah. And there are all sorts of things that evolve from that. For example, at the beginning, the business may use their own images, and so they have a photographer, and everything is looking really good. And over time, they have to create articles and blog posts and whatnot. And so they start just using stock photography. And that starts evolving badly because like the selection of the stock photography starts being really kind of, secondary, and it evolves into something that doesn't look good. And so you want to look professional. You want to have a website that reflects your brand. That is a good, well-presented website, and that works well. I mean, you have some experience with bad websites, right? The other day we were talking about the Target website, which is a great website. I'm not going to say this, it's not a good website, but
we're big Target fans.
right. Well, primarily you are. I'm I'm not so much, but tell me a little bit about the filter that you were talking about with Target.
So on the website, when you are trying to go through the filter and say you are looking for something in a specific color, say I want to stick with grays and blacks and blues, those colors. I was looking for pillows specifically. So when you go to click on it, you hit black and then it populates. Then you have to go back in to hit blue, and then it populates. And you can't go through and hit, I want black, blue, and gray, and move on about your shopping. It's really annoying to me, and it takes a lot of time. And, that's one of the reasons why so many of us online shop and different things, because we don't have time and we need to narrow it down quickly. And I think if they would make that small adjustment, people would actually probably buy more and be able to find obviously what they're looking for a lot quicker, and just make the overall experience a better one. It's a small thing. It's a pet peeve of mine. It irritates me every single time. And I should probably contact Target and just let them know, because they're pretty receptive. So
well, and it's very simple to fix, from a technical perspective, to add a button that is the one that initiates the filter, instead of just having what we call Ajax be the one. So when you select black or blue or gray, instead of like immediately filtering, you can just wait for the person to say apply filters, and then it would just do the whole thing. But yeah, so that's a perfect example of like one of those things that it would be so easy to fix. And again, it's a good website from Target, but one of those features that could make them significantly more money just by changing that. So excellent. Professional website. And then just summarizing, better to have even one page of good website than to have a bad website. The important concept here is that whether it's fair or not, people relate what you do on your website with what you do in your business. And so if your website looks terrible, they immediately doubt that your business can actually do what you do best. So that's what happens with that. Second one, SEO, social media marketing. So why is SEO important, or why would that actually helping in one way or another? And then the important thing is, let's divide them. Let's talk about SEO first, and then let's do about social media marketing. So SEO is the primary way in which people visit websites. 85% of all traffic to regular websites comes from Google. And so whether you like it or not, you have to pay attention to what Google is doing, how they're indexing, crawling, and ranking your website. And so SEO becomes like a really, really important thing. And so if you have... I'm sorry, say that.
That they are the gatekeeper.
Exactly. And they're so important that you can't just get upset with Google and say, I'm not going to do this unless you have like really a big budget to be buying ads and doing other stuff. Like Google is really, really the gatekeeper. Exactly. So SEO becomes like a really important thing. You don't have to hire a really expensive SEO agency to do link building to start with, because I totally understand also for small business owners, there's so many things to do at the beginning. So if you're starting with your business, you can start on your own. So you do the website, and then you're going to start writing articles and just including the keywords and just talking about what your business does for clients. That's a great place to start. And you want to do it somewhat aggressively at first. So you want to have, I don't know, maybe 100 pieces of content by the end of the year. So that for some people is not aggressive at all. And for some people to sit down and write, it feels like they're writing papers for school. So obviously that's not an enticing thing, but you want to have some content on your site. So that's the first part. Obviously, that's not going to be very competitive, and you probably, once you do that stage of the beginning of things, you might want to contact someone that does it professionally for you. But having said that, SEO is an important component, so pay attention to the SEO. The second thing is social media marketing. That's super simple and straightforward. I think like everybody does that naturally. Business owners almost traditionally do that. Like they open a Facebook page for their business. They open a Twitter account. They create a YouTube channel. So all of those things happen almost naturally. And you get some links from doing that. So you're getting like SEO value, and you're doing somewhat of a social media interaction with your potential users. You want to do things that increase your engagement. And so you want to not just post, what happens in the office, for example, but you want to increase what people are perceiving from your business. More likes, more followers. If someone asks a question, you want to engage them and just kind of get a conversation going. So that's kind of the beginning of it. Of course, over time, you'll find that doesn't really lead to a lot of business by itself, but it actually makes you look social. And those connections and those networks are going to help your business in the long run. So it's a very slow process, but you want to do it. And then the next natural step is, how do I do it faster and better? And of course, there's automation and things like that we can do so that, first of all, you don't have to spend a whole lot of time. But I saw this marketing professional, Gary V. I don't know if you've heard of him, Gary V. But basically he was saying that if you're just starting, you probably want to be posting around 25 to 30 times, I think 25 to 27, he said, times a day. And I was like, man, that's like pretty aggressive. Imagine doing 27 posts a day on Facebook, for example. That alone is like pretty aggressive. So you want to be aggressive for sure, but you don't have to do everything on your own. So you can actually get the help from someone else. The third one is email marketing. So do you check your email still, or are you in the phases where you just don't pay attention to email anymore?
Me? Oh, of
Yeah,
course. I check my email.
right.
It's how I connect. I mean, that and text mainly. I mean, it's a busy, busy world. So yeah, email is primarily how I connect with people.
But
On a
how
daily-
how many pieces of spam do you think you get a day? Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Uh,
So, so
should I
we
show
get
you
so
my
much
email?
spam. Hmm?
Should I show you the number of my emails? No,
Please don't.
please don't. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, Even though we get a lot of spam, and you don't want to be spamming with your own business to emails, it is important to create email marketing campaigns and the channel itself, because email, what it has is that it allows you to be in control of the conversation. So if I want to talk with a push marketing strategy rather than just pull, rather than just waiting there for someone to come to my website and check out what I have to offer, instead I can actually push and send them a message and say, hey, I was wondering how did this go with the product that you purchased from us, or did you enjoy your service, or things like that. Things that you would think are small in the great scheme of digital marketing, but being able to initiate the conversations is really, really important.
I think email marketing is very important. I know from personal experience, when it's, say, businesses that are selling things and they have sales and different things, obviously they get me. I spend more money because I see there's a sale. But also with offices, with doctor offices, and anytime, it's an experience like that, when someone sends a follow-up email saying, how was your experience? Will you, answer a few questions? And it's really just a few questions. They're not taking 15 minutes out of my day to do this, but it shows that they care about what they're doing, your experience, and they're just letting you know, like, you're important to me. And I think that is important. It creates a relationship that you might not really have if you didn't do the follow-up. So I think those things are important. Just in this day and time, doing something a little bit extra. And it does benefit you because you
Also,
learn things about your business,
right.
things that you might need to implement or change, or, all of those things, while also helping the client to feel seen and valued.
Exactly. I agree 100%. Obviously, you don't want to go 27 pieces of email a day, right? Like with
Sure.
social media. But yeah, you want to stay in contact with your potential clients. Super easy to implement too. In your website, you can just have a form that collects all the emails, and then you connect that to an email marketing platform. Hundreds of them out there. So I'm not going to even go into the specifics of which one to choose, but just very easy to connect a form that asks for their name and their email. You don't want to go into what brought you to this website in comments, and so you're going to get very bad traffic. But just having your asking for the name and the email, and then you add them to the mailing list, and then you just every so often you send some information that is valuable for them. And that's the key thing there. You don't want to be just sending automated things that just are spammy in nature, that no one wants to see. So the thing to think about is, how can I add value to my users with this?
I think
All
it's
right.
always quality over quantity when you're talking about any type of marketing. If you're doing 1,000 things, but they're poor quality, they're not going to have an effect like a few solid, well thought out strategies. It's just, and then you're wasting people's time. And they don't open, or they don't look at what you're sending, because they are just like, oh, this is something else. Unsubscribe, please.
Exactly. People learn very quickly. They might actually look at the first one, and then the second one is the same thing, that you're not really adding value, you're not adding anything to the equation, then they just block it out completely. And we all do that. American Idol, which actually is coming back. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't even know it was on.
I didn't know it was off. So
I switched to The Voice, but yeah, okay. So they're coming back. Okay,
they're coming back, but they did this research, and they noticed that people just phased out during the commercial breaks. Like, all the ads were just completely useless because people were investing all this money, but no one was seeing the investment in the advertising or the advertisements themselves. And what they discovered was that if they incorporated the ads inside of the theme or the topic that they were doing in American Idol that day, that people reacted a lot more to the presence of the brands. And so, I don't know if you remember, you would see like the contestants actually getting on a Ford and like getting in the back of a F-150, and like they were just like incorporating inside of the show. They were incorporating the brands. And
their Pepsi glasses, they're drinking out of Pepsi glasses. Sure. Yeah.
Exactly. So all of those things, incorporating the message and the valuable things, like people are there for the show. So incorporating what is valuable, the show, with the advertising is where the key lies, as opposed to just kind of separating them and just doing advertising by itself, because it doesn't work. All right.
Mobile friendly sites.
Yeah, make sure your site is mobile friendly. So I would say right now what I'm seeing.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to ask if you know the stats of like how many people use their phone to browse. Do you have any stats on that? I feel like you would. You're the stat.
Yeah. And I was going to talk about that. Not as specifics, but and it ranges from different industries too. So that's a little bit difficult. But I would say that from 2 years to now, things have changed dramatically. And now, more people are using their phones rather than desktops, which used to be the other way around. You would like see across the board in analytics, you would see most people visiting from desktops, and then a good amount visiting from mobile devices. But now I think it's good to say that the majority of people are visiting websites from their mobile device. And so that creates this idea that we have talked in the web design world for a while, which is mobile friendly first. Or mobile design first. And that means, like, when you're getting ready to design a website, starting with a smaller screen first, and then getting bigger in terms of the design for bigger screens. What we call that in the industry is responsive design. So you want to be responsive. In other words, if someone is visiting your website with a small screen, then it looks great. If it's a tablet, if it's a desktop, if it's a 4K TV, in all of those types of screens, your website is looking great. But primarily, the recommendation or the tip is make sure that your site is mobile friendly. You don't want to miss out on that. 5 years ago, that wasn't an important consideration. About 7 years ago, it wasn't even in the radar of anybody, because even the iPhone, I think, was coming out or something like that. So people didn't really think about the importance of mobile devices and how they've changed our lives. But if you think about it, everybody is walking around with a computer on their pocket today. And they're just a moment away from visiting your site or having a question answered by Google. And you could be the response for that question. And if it looks good, then they might end up doing business with you. If it doesn't, then as quickly as they arrive, they'll leave and go to your competitor, to the one that actually is like mobile friendly. So super easy to do. You just, if you're designing a website yourself, make sure that you start with the mobile version first. And if you're hiring a professional designer, and hopefully it's a professional, they'll start with mobile anyway. So they'll understand the importance of doing mobile first. And with that comes like all the complexities of, and we don't have to get too technical with this, but like you don't want to just transform your website into the mobile version and that's it. You want to make sure that if you're serving big images, then when it's in a mobile device, then like you're serving smaller images, because obviously the internet and the screen are, the internet is a little bit, you're not going to have 5G everywhere. And then the size of the images, you don't need a 1600 pixel wide image for a device that has a screen of 480 pixels wide. So,
right.
So making sure that your images and the configuration of your content is actually showing up properly for those devices as well. So that's kind of important. And then the last one that we have is using content marketing to attract more potential customers. And that goes with the SEO part too. But basically what you want is to write content. We are seeing a lot of benefits with video itself. So video podcasts like this one, or doing a YouTube channel, all of those things are very beneficial. I heard someone saying like people would think always, my goodness, I should have started my YouTube channel 7 years ago. And in 7 years, people are going to be like, man, I should have started my YouTube channel 14 years ago. So you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be left behind. So if you have a business, start your YouTube channel. You don't have to start big, that's for sure. One of the things that I see with some of our clients is that when you start, you get 1 or 2 views for a video, and that's kind of discouraging to folks. You know, you just you put out all this effort and all this video, and you're not very comfortable in front of the camera and all these things, right? All this complexity, and you do all of that only to get 1 view, and it's your mom, the one that you just send the video to your mom, and she didn't even.
You always pull through.
But she doesn't watch the whole thing either. She just kind of clicks and goes like, I watched it.
I watched the video.
Right. So it's discouraging, but don't get discouraged, because it's a matter of volume too. So you have to, over time, as long as you're putting out content that is beneficial, then over time you'll get results. You'll get a following. You got people that actually think that you're benefiting the web by putting content out there, because you don't want to be the kind of person that just puts things out there that you found somewhere else, or that really don't add value, or like ads by themselves. Like you don't want to film yourself just saying an ad. That wouldn't work at all. And I guess everybody would know that, but I've seen it done. So it's probably a good thing to say it. So yeah,
they're left better, to the professional to kind of help you get started. I feel like that's an area where people have a lot of trouble. It's very daunting knowing where to get started. And so that's when, a marketing company can really help you kind of figure that out and guide you and create video for you if needed.
Yeah. And I guess the important part of using an agency too is that you don't have to be limited to just video. You can actually do multimedia. So you can do audio, for example. A podcast would be a perfect example of just doing audio. You can do article creation, podcasts, not podcast, posts. Mm-hmm. All sorts of media that you can be doing through an agency rather than having to figure it out on your own. So. Yeah. All right. And then let's close with 3 bonus tips that are just simple things to do. Number 1 is install analytics. That speaks for itself. You don't want to have a website and then not be able to measure how you're doing. So how would you know that you're improving if you don't measure anything? So if you want to lose weight, the starting point has to be, well, how much do I weigh? Right? Like you can't lose weight if you don't know how much you weigh, because there has to be some sort of identifier, like measuring. Yeah, there has to be some sort of thing like, okay, this is how I I need to lose 2 pounds. Okay, you need to know where you're at right now.
Right.
So that's
you could gain, and then you wouldn't know, or you could lose, and you wouldn't know because you don't know where you started. Right.
Exactly. So
Sometimes things can happen that can be detrimental, and you need to know that. Changes that you make, and some can be really beneficial. So why be wasting time on things if they're not helping?
exactly. So
That's are good.
are you talking about cookies and that? Because I kind of saw like a little bit of a
No, I was talking about web.
Oh, gotcha. I thought you were talking about cookies. All right. Number
Another
2.
podcast.
Yeah. Number 2, verify your site with Google Webmaster Console. Super simple. It's free. Google provides that platform for free. And it gives you some insight into how Google is looking at your website. So it tells you things like what pages have been crawled, what pages are in the index. It tells you if you have penalties. It tells you if it looked at the robots.txt file and if it was able to gather information from that and crawl your site from there. It tells you how many visits or how many clicks and impressions you're getting from each query. So when people enter something in Google that is related to your website and ended up sending someone, or not even sending someone. So the person didn't even click, they actually just got the impression. In other words, Google showed your result. It shows you that information there. Why wouldn't you want that information? It actually tells you what Google is looking at in your website. So that is
free inspection.
Free.
Why not? Yeah,
absolutely. The other cool thing about it is that you can compare within Google Webmaster Console, you can compare dates. So you can see if you're improving, because you can say, okay, let's take a look at this month versus last month and see how we're doing by query or by page.
Right.
Unbelievable that people wouldn't use this yet or so far, but free. Just go to Google, search.google.com/search-console, and then you'll get to create an account for your site. The final one is big call to action buttons on your site. CTAs, the famous CTA, call to action buttons. Basically, they're buttons, like we call them fancy things, but CTAs are these big buttons that you have on your site, and you want them to be not necessarily big. It's not that they need to be enormous compared to the rest of your site. In fact, I probably wouldn't recommend that. Right. But you want them to be big in the sense that they are noticeable. You don't want to get lost in the whole thing. I've seen some websites that they have like clickable everything. So you can click on anything and it takes you somewhere else.
Like a carnival.
It's like a carnival. Exactly.
It's like a carnival.
And you don't even know where you are. You don't know where you end up. And
you don't even know why you arrived.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So I could go into a tangent with that.
Yeah,
too.
Me too. Moving on.
So
big button.
You want those CTAs to be clear.
Yeah.
Why is that important? Because you can be a little bit more inviting or directing of your audience to what is the next step to take after reading this content. So if they arrive at your homepage, well, what is the logical next step for you to take after arriving on my homepage? Maybe it is to learn more about my services. So you place a CTA about our services. So people read the content and they go to learn more about your services. An analogy with this is like you go on a date and you sit down and you haven't even ordered your food. And then you tell the person, I love you. Would you marry me? Like that's out of place. Obviously the person like
the Bachelorette, or really more the Bachelor, but yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Bachelorette. Just on the show, that's where it works. But in the real world, it wouldn't work. And the reason is because the person is taking it back because you just sat down. This is our first date. It's out of place. You just don't just go ahead and say, I love you, let's marry. It's not going to be well received. So you order the meal, you kind of like talk about life and stuff. And then at the end of the date, you actually say, I love you. would you marry me, right? So that there's a progression there to the relationship. There's something of value before, right? And by that date, what I mean is multiple dates, and what I mean is
right.
Like
Sure,
whatever amount of time to develop that relationship. Same thing with your website. So when people arrive to your website for the first time, they don't know about you, and they have some problems that they're trying to fix in their own lives, and you are the solution, or supposedly you are the solution. And so they have to progress in the relationship with you to learn more about you. You're not just going to immediately say, contact, pay here. Those things don't go well together, right? So develop the relationship.
Schedule now, right?
Exactly. So you want to invite people to a relationship with your business. And over time, people will naturally follow that progression and trust you and find that you have solutions for their problems. And so they'll eventually, send me the invoice, right? But that doesn't happen at the first moment. So that's kind of important. All right. If any of this made sense for you and you're not interested in implementing these things on your own, then that's why Merkados comes into the picture. So we are an agency located in the Raleigh-Durham area in North Carolina, and our focus is to help business owners attract more qualified customers to their businesses without the need of hiring additional marketing staff. So check us out, merkados.com, merkados.com, or you can contact us at 888-525-8117. All right, that was a great second podcast episode, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, thank you for talking web with me.
That's awesome. Well, until next week, we'll see you later.
Great, be well.
Bye, take care. Bye.